All right, what's going on, everybody? No, we're live, so I'm gonna give me a second here and post the live link to our Twitter, and I'm doing that right now. So, I mean, nobody's in here, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Uh,
there wasn't a little preparation delay because we were running a little bit behind, so we
no
wanted to
worries,
get us up live right away. So
no worries. Oh well, a couple people jumped in here, so let me post this link, and then we'll get to talking. Let's see, make sure it went through before I shut my phone down.
it did.
All right, Twitter, it posted. So, all right, guys, welcome in. Welcome to the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. Typically, we do this on Sunday night, but it's been a wild couple weeks for all of us. We got stuff going on. We had some friends over, so it makes it tough to do that. And so we still got a game tonight, so might as well do it tonight. Go live, but look for us on Sundays moving forward. Obviously, depending on whatever happens, we'll let you know. Tonight, we're going to do a breakdown of the entire week one, and the main games that popped up, some of these close games, all these ones that were against FCS opponents, group of 5 opponents. There's a lot of tight games, boys. And I don't know if it's just, shaking out the rust, if people just, weren't prepared, or maybe if they're just overlooking these opponents, or maybe they just suck. So who knows? But, we're going to talk a little bit about that here. So I'll just do a quick recap, gentlemen, and then we'll move on to our picks that we have up on the board. As you can see, guys, it was rough for us on a pick 'em. But again, it's week one.
Lots of red on the board. Lots of red on the board.
A lot of red out there. Yeah, we're gonna see. Oh, geez, we get comments already. Lord help us. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some of these other week one games before we get into what we had on the picks. Thursday and Friday, the Scaries, man, these guys were struggling. NC State early against Western Carolina. They were down into the third, and then they did finally pull it out, finished 38-21, pulled away in the fourth. Waters had a pretty solid game, 2 touchdowns, 123 on the ground. Colorado, North Dakota, that was one we didn't put on the pick 'em. Really, I feel like all the attention's already there. Blake mentioned it. So let's put it on, see about this Oklahoma State version. Well, this one ended up being closer, and North Dakota State almost pulled it out. So that was a pretty close game, pretty fun one to watch. Battle all the way to the end. Shedeur and Hunter, Travis Hunter, the show. Again, same as last year. Offensive line struggles, concerns moving forward. Michigan State against FAU only won 16-10. They looked really sloppy. Quarterback play I was not impressed with. We'll see if they can fix that. I know it's, again, week one. A lot of things can change. Defense did step up with 7 sacks, though, so nice for Michigan State. Wisconsin, Western Michigan, 28-14 was the final. But they were down 14-13 in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that's another one you got to watch out for. Wisconsin, were you looking ahead? Are you, are just not, fully integrated yet? I'm curious to see how they move going forward. Oregon and Idaho, that one to me is the craziest. Oregon comes in, they're expected to be, national title contenders, and then they go out against Idaho and really don't do much, on the scoreboard. But Dylan Gabriel still had a fantastic game. Final score was 24-14, something to look at maybe moving forward. South Carolina, Old Dominion, 23-19 for South Carolina. Good Lord. Sellers at quarterback, he was only 10 of 23, 114 yards passing. Running game, I don't know, man. Old Dominion had 4 sacks. So God help whoever's, still staying at quarterback back there for South Carolina. And then last one of this quick recap, Texas Tech versus Abilene Christian. Good Lord. 52-51 in overtime. Texas Tech, at least you didn't blow it completely like you did last year. So I mean, but Jesus, dude, you're kind of starting on that same foot. So I'm curious to see if they can turn it around. Gentlemen, anything on those teams, on those games, any other close ones that you might have,
I was disappointed in Florida Atlantic.
I know Blake is too.
They came out flat, and then it just was just bad. Michigan State gave them every opportunity, 100%.
He sure. Hey, Cole, we'll definitely talk about that down the line. But yeah, Michigan State gave them every single opportunity, Trevor, and it just felt like right at the end that defense for Michigan State was just stepping up just enough to where that quarterback was so rattled. But hey, S&P rated FAU like down pretty low when you look at the ratings. So I'm curious to see, how bad it could get for Michigan State or if they can figure it out. Let's go ahead, boys. If you got nothing else, let's jump into these picks here and talk about some of the games in our top 10 biggest ones of the week. UNC Minnesota, that was another one during the week day, not during the weekend, and that one ended 19-17 in favor of UNC. Minnesota late field goal, missed it, and they still shot off the fireworks like they won the damn thing. So that guy's probably fired. I don't know what happened with them. Max Johnson obviously went down. That sucks to see. Brosmer, I mean, before he went down, not bad game, nothing great. Brosmer was doing fine. It's just, I'm curious to see, where they go from there with UNC. I know they won the game, but it's tough losing your starting quarterback. The UNC defense really stepped up. I was surprised at the pressure they were able to get. And then, of course, Minnesota field goal kicker, 1 of 3 on the night. Tough loss for them. What do you guys think about that game? Any quick notes on them?
The UNC game, God bless. I was so disappointed in Minnesota. Like, they played such a good game, and then the kicker blows it. Like, that friggin', oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't think kickers. I don't think UNC played good enough to win, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that they gave Minnesota, I think that UNC actually has better talent than Minnesota, but Minnesota did everything for the most part right to try and put themselves in a position to win. But I don't think UNC finished well enough, in my opinion, to actually get the win. But they got it, so more power to them. They start out 1-0.
Yeah, I didn't feel like they made a lot of changes from last year that made them much better. I do feel bad for Max Johnson, though. I mean, he stays hurt.
Yeah, it sucks to see, especially in week 1. I mean, anytime, but week 1, after all the work you put in, it's just sucks to see that. Passing game, for them, honestly, not impressive either way. It was 12 of 19, 71 yards. Brosmer at least had a decent game. The running game for Minnesota, I was curious. Taylor was out for the game, Darius Taylor, so I want to see, why was he out? I haven't seen that yet. So if you're a Minnesota fan, let me know. But yeah, either way, it seemed like an even match, and somebody would come away with it, tight. But North Carolina did it at the end. Let's move on, gents, to the next game. UNLV Houston. This one, I thought it would be closer. I know you guys both hit the pick pretty nicely, but UNLV came out with this one 27-7, and really, it's the story of the offensive line. Houston. They only had 1.5 yards per carry. They gave up 6 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. You cannot win a football game doing that. And UNLV, I mean, we mentioned them as one of the top group of 5 teams. So, I mean, they showed
it. It's a strong first win for them for sure.
Absolutely. I'm happy for them getting that win. Blake, what do you think on this game? Anything?
Yeah, it went exactly as I expected it to. I was high on UNLV, and they did exactly what I thought would happen.
Yeah. They won that third down battle, won the battle on the ground too. So, I mean, that's what you got to do, win at the line of scrimmage. And that's the tale for any of these teams. Miami, Ohio, Northwestern's the next game we'll talk about briefly. Really, 13-6. We thought it could be tight. I wasn't thinking that close and like that low scoring. Quarterback play for both, honestly, was fine. There was 2 interceptions, from Miami, Ohio. But really, it was Mike Wright's running ability. I feel like that pushed Northwestern over the edge, and they needed that help because the rest of it is just kind of lackluster, to be honest with you. 4.8 yards per carry for them, and most of that, you're coming from Mike Wright with 9 carries, 65 yards. So I want to see Northwestern get better on that side of the ball. They've got a pretty tough schedule coming up, so they need to figure it out. Anything else on this game, boys, before we move on?
Nope.
Yeah, all right. South Dakota, Oklahoma State was another one that we kind of mentioned, and other people were across the board were talking about this as a potential upset game just because what South Dakota State had coming back, and it makes sense. Look, they brought back a lot of talent, 6-year quarterback, but when it came down to it, Oklahoma State was just a little too much. It was kind of close early on, but then that third quarter for Oklahoma State, they just blew them out of the water, and really not much from there. I was the most impressed with Alan Bowman. No turnovers. That was something we mentioned in the preseason. Something he needs to control for them to be a contender in the playoffs in the Big 12. And this game, he did it. Anything on this one, guys, before we move on?
No, it pretty much ended the way it was an expected win for OSU. More power to South Dakota, but I'm telling you, there's no way they're going to be able to compete against a team like that.
Yeah, Ollie Gordon he did pretty good.
Yeah, they've got returning offensive linemen. Ollie Gordon coming back. It's going to be a good team, and I'm glad to see they didn't let it go in week 1 against South Dakota. We'll move on. First, really the main upset early. Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt 34-27 in overtime. I think that shocked the entire football world. I know Vanderbilt fans that I was reading, they were like, we knew we were confident in this team. I'm glad you were, but I feel like you're pulling my barber, baby.
Unless you called it before the kickoff started, I don't want to hear it.
Oh, we've got a disgruntled fan. You gave me bad information. Should have kept OSU at the 10 on Pick'em. Hey, look, it's up to you to decide, buddy. I can't help you on that one. All right. I think I kept them there. I can't remember. I honestly, I think I was blacked out half the weekend. So we'll see what happens on the next one. Maybe we won't mislead you. But Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. Now I'm stuttering. Drones, I thought he did fine. It was just kind of lackluster in the rush game again. 2.5 yards per carry for Virginia Tech. He only had 34 yards. Drones had 19 yards on 16 carries. It's just, it's not going to get it done. But Vanderbilt, I was really impressed with that offense. We mentioned it in the season previews. What's it going to look like? It's going to be this option style. They lost a lot of wide receivers in the portal, but still Pavia went in at 12-16 for 190 and 2 touchdowns. So I mean that's pretty impressive for this Vanderbilt team, for a team against a team a lot of people were projecting, hey, they could win the ACC. What do you guys think on this one?
I was most impressed with Vandy's passing myself, especially when it got late in the game and they was having to do it. I mean, Virginia Tech was really struggling to stop it. And I guess just throughout the game, how they was struggling with that run game up front, it just opened it up. And by halftime, I was really worried for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Remember that point when we said the ACC is wide open? It's starting to close back in again.
Yeah.
Starting to close back into the favorites again. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, was Boston College a favorite preseason?
I don't know, but they should be now.
All right. Jeez. Yes, they actually are. It's pretty crazy to me. We got the game. I got the game on right behind me. We'll talk about Boston College more later. What are you thinking, Trev?
Well, no, it's just like, I feel like the Virginia Tech, we've talked about Virginia Tech thinking that they made enough moves, good moves in the offseason to put themselves in position to win, and they just come out flat. Completely flat. And I feel like that's going to be the theme of the weekend. Honestly, there was a ton of teams that came out flat. There was only maybe, I don't know, a small handful of teams that I feel like came out with the guns blazing and they were already expected winners, but they just came out and they showed exactly why they were favorites. Otherwise, I feel like it was I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. It felt very lackluster across the board. Some did come out and they put it down on these low level teams, but when you look at a lot of it, like we mentioned, so many of these teams it felt really flat, and you cannot do that, especially if you're trying to get the damn playoffs. Virginia Tech they might have just blown their chance if they can square it away and come out and and get some good wins in conference. Okay, they can get right back in, but. Yeah. Same with Florida State. If you can't fix this right now, your shots are going down the drain really quick.
Look, with regard to Florida State, I know we're jumping around a little bit, but with regard to Florida State, they need to win, get into the conference championship. That is, as of right now, especially if they lose to Boston College, that is the only way they're getting into the playoff.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Virginia Tech, like, at least it's out of conference loss. You can still make a run for the conference championship, but you got to square stuff away, get that running game going. Either way, that one, Vandy won 34-27 in overtime. So pretty awesome for them. Let's move on. Big games of the weekend: Notre Dame, Texas A&M. We'll talk a little bit more about Notre Dame later in the show. But really, I thought that was a really good performance by them. They won 23-13, and the defense, to me, last year they had a strong defense too when they kept all 11 on the field. Looking back at that Ohio State game, but the battle of the quarterback, Wigman looked horrible. I was not impressed especially last year. He showed so much to me before he got injured. So I don't know if it's just like. I don't know if he's just rattled. He's like nervous about, being back in it after the injury. I'm curious to see if he'll settle down, moving forward. But Notre Dame, props to them for stepping up defensively. And then, of course, quarterback play. They're using the run game for them, and Riley Leonard. We saw him do it in Duke, and now he's doing it here. So it's not just a one-off thing. He is who we know he is. You know what I mean? So I think he's – I think he's a good fit. I want them to keep using him this way because he's electric. What do you guys think of the Notre Dame game?
I was worried about
I was surprised that Wegman's the problem.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. I thought that would be their strongest point coming in, is that they would have a guy but the offense just looked terrible. So Mike Elko's got some work to do on fixing his offense.
I was worried about the offensive line at Notre Dame with the injuries and then losing the big guys from last year. And I felt like they filled the gaps very well. They ran the ball. I wouldn't say at will, but Texas A&M, I just expected more out of their front against the run game from Notre Dame, and they didn't really stop them much. As far as running the ball, I mean, Notre Dame kind of had their way with them. And like I said, Texas A&M, that's where coaches go to die. So, I mean, Mike Elkos will be getting a buyout probably in 6 years, 5-6 years. And, I mean, that's just how it is. A&M's, they're awful.
I feel the luck of the Irish. Yeah, I feel like I give him a chance. I'm going to give him a chance. Le'Veon Moss, I mean, they lost, when I'm talking about saying Texas A&M. They lost their starting center, I believe. He just tore his ACL that game. They lost their starting running back. You're coming in, you're using transfer portal to try and plug and play. And you go in and you play a solid team in Notre Dame, and you lost, by 10 points. So I'm not going to, crap on Texas A&M completely. That's just Connor Wigman's performance really hindered what they could do. They still got 3.8 yards per carry, and effectively, they couldn't pass the ball, only 100 yards passing, 2 picks. But to your point, Blake, the rushing attack for Notre Dame, they had 5.8 yards per carry, and that's between two. Riley Leonard running for 63, but Jeremiah Love getting 91 on 14 carries, so he's getting 6.5 yards per carry himself. That's impressive, and this D line for Texas A&M is supposed to be pretty damn stout, and so I wonder how this is going to play out the rest of the year. Notre Dame, like I said, we'll talk about more later when we highlight our kicking it up the notch team of the week. So let's move on, guys, unless you got anything else on this Texas A&M Notre Dame game.
Not really. They'll be lucky that they have 7 wins, as far as I'm concerned, if they keep playing the way they play.
Hey, they got to figure out quarterback position.
I know it's kind of funny to say 7 wins, but I mean, looking at the schedule and looking at the SEC and how strong it is, I mean, if Vanderbilt is going to show out that much, I mean, that means the bottom of the SEC is going to show out too. So Texas A&M, you ain't got no break. Once you hit conference play, you might as well throw in the towel if you're going to keep playing like that.
Yeah, quarterback's got to figure it out. Let's move on. We'll move to the Penn State-West Virginia game, 34-12 in favor of Penn State. Pretty similar to last season to me. Garrett Green didn't have a huge game. It wasn't bad. Like a game, didn't fall on his shoulders. But again, rushing, you cannot move the line of scrimmage. You're not going to win this game. 2.3 yards per carry for West Virginia. And we mentioned C.J. Donaldson. That's a big back. Somebody to lean on, but he 12 carries, 42 yards. On the other side, Penn State, plenty of rushing attack with Nick Singleton. And then Drew Allar actually had a solid game. 3 touchdown passes, pretty solid from him. Well, Mags is. You guys, tell me what you think about this one. Jeez.
What game are we on?
West Virginia. I got you. It was awful. Like offensively, West Virginia was very disappointing. I expected a lot more out of them. They could not get a run game going. Penn State, I still think they're going to be more overrated in the Big Ten. I still don't think they're one of the top Big Ten teams. They'll crumble midseason in classic James Franklin style, I believe. But I was really wanting to see more out of West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia. I mean, yeah, I was hoping that they would expose Penn State for the frauds that they are. A top 10 team, they are not.
Yeah.
At least I don't believe they are. And honestly, I didn't think it was as strong of a win as maybe some people might give them credit for, beating West Virginia. Although at Morgantown, it was pretty hyped up for the most part. But I think overall, West Virginia dropped the ball on this one. I think they could have had every opportunity to rob Penn State of a really strong, potentially strong season in week one. So,
all right, boys, sorry about that. Again, I don't know, man. Usually she sleeps pretty damn well, and then the last two episodes, she's like, "Hey, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing." Talking about my daughter, she woke up, so I apologize for just stepping off. Those of you still joining us, and we appreciate you being here. Trev, I'm sorry, what were you talking about with West Virginia?
I was just saying that West Virginia Mountaineers had every opportunity to ruin Penn State's season coming into coming into their home field, and I just feel like they dropped the ball. They came out flat a little bit, gave Penn State a lot of opportunities to capitalize on. It's just, that's something you can't do. I mean, regardless of my feelings about Penn State, you cannot give them that many opportunities and expect to have a winning outcome.
Yeah, turnovers, fumbles. It just, you can't do that against the top defense as well and set them up at good field position. I agree. I want to see what West Virginia does in the Big 12. But Neil Brown, we mentioned it last year with Neil Brown. He lost every single good team on the schedule. Is it going to happen again this year? I hope not, for their sake, because I think they have talent. And I do think Garrett Green's a solid quarterback. Let's move on to the next one. Miami at Florida. Miami came out 41-17. I mean, they just blasted them. So it really, what else do you say about it? Miami, I was a little bit surprised. We said, all right, we need to see it from Cristobal. We said, we picked Florida to win. Trevor did good picking Miami, but I need to see it from Cristobal in a big environment. And, hey, Cam Ward came out and he helped that big time. What do you guys think about this game?
I think I won.
Yeah, you did. Well done, man. Yeah, that was a good pick.
No, I watched a few. I didn't get a chance to watch this particular game, even though I really wanted to watch it. But I was really happy that Cam Ward had a good game coming out. He did what I expect Cam Ward to be able to do. And I was telling Blake this the other day, is like, Miami's got the best quarterback that Cristobal has had since he's been there. So I think that it's a win now mentality for Cristobal and the rest of that team to take advantage of Cam Ward while he's there for this 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, you got to lean on him. Blake, anything on this one?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what Trevor said. Cam Ward, I mean, he played a lights out game. The defensive side of Miami was pretty solid too. The only reason I took Florida was I felt like Napier was in that position where it's like a make or break, especially with the way his season's going to be at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was a must win for him because his last 7 games, he's probably going 0-7.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not looking good for Florida. They're going to be coach searching probably today.
Yeah. For Florida, speaking of Florida, I think Napier, honestly, if this game is indicative of what the kind of team that they got, there's a potential where I could see Napier pushing that DJ Lagway out, that freshman, to try and save his job for one more year.
Yeah,
that freshman phenom that they got. I can see it happening. I know some pundits and experts have actually said that there's a possibility that they push him out halfway through the year if they're struggling.
Yeah.
But I think he may do it sooner, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, he even got, reps in this game. Graham Mertz, 11 of 20 for 91 yards. That's not going to cut it, but how much of that is on him? How much of that is play calling?
Yeah.
And,
exactly
because last year Graham Mertz really saved a lot of their games, So I know, we mentioned him when we looked at the season previews and digging into their roster. Other, pundits across, the media and football also said, hey, look, I know their schedule's tough and they could only win 5 games or whatever, but they have a team. They've got players out there. So it's not really a talent issue. Something else is going on. And maybe the moment's just too big for Napier and Florida right now. But they could turn it around. I mean, we saw what they did against Utah last year, and then they kind of got some wheels under them. So we'll see if something changes for this Florida team. But props to Miami, and I agree, Jacob. They looked really solid. I was impressed. But let's move on, gentlemen. Move on to the next one. USC and LSU last night game. I didn't get to watch it very much. I saw a little bit while we were out, but did see the end, 27-20 USC, and I did see Miller Moss's highlights, and he had honestly a hell of a game. He won that game for him in a lot of ways. What do you guys think about the USC game last night?
I think that the amount of hate and the amount of doubters that USC garnered over the past season against surrounding their defense and in the offseason about basically people saying that they can't contend in the Big Ten has got this entire team probably pumped up a bit more than what they probably would have been otherwise. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like waking that sleeping giant, because USC, regardless of what you think of them, is a giant and can be a giant in the sport, in the college football world. Mm-hmm. And I think they're fixing to have a good season.
Yeah.
And they gave me a win.
Yeah, I don't know how much stock I put in them still, because I don't know how much of it was USC is that good versus because LSU made a lot of mistakes in that game. Because I watched the majority of it. But, I mean, Miller Moss, there is no question. I mean, he did play a great game, but so did Nussmeier at LSU. I mean, his stats were right there with Miller Moss's. Just LSU's defense, they was out of position so many times throughout the night. And then just penalties. I mean, there was one of the worst games I've seen LSU play from like a personal positional standpoint. Just mental errors left and right all over the field, both sides of the ball. Yeah. And they couldn't sustain drives. And then some of the play calling in the second half, coming out, not throwing at all and just running, and then switching running backs from the running back that was having a great game. I mean, just a lot of stuff like that. And I think that killed them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I still give, my hat off to USC, and I do think they're a good team.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I wouldn't say they're like at the top of the Big Ten.
They're fourth or fifth still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see some defense changes that took place, because I feel like if this happened last year, this is like a 60-60 game. I'm not even joking. LSU went out and got defensive coordinator. USC, obviously, again, we mentioned, got a defensive coordinator. This was the one that we said it's like the same team playing each other. And honestly, it kind of felt like that. I mean, Nussmeier had a strong game, over 300 passing yards. He did have the one pick. Miller Moss had 378 rushing wise. Their top backs are in that 60-yard range. And then some electric plays from some wide receivers, Kyron Hudson, Kyron Lacey. These guys were both balling out. So I'm excited to see what USC does in the Big Ten. I have a little more respect for them this, going into the rest of the season. And LSU too, if they can, keep this offense rolling and square away the defense a little bit more. Because like you said, they had a chance late, and then it just kind of got away from them, allowing them to tie it up, and then USC finally driving down the field at the end and winning. Right. But yeah, it's a cool game. Honestly, hats off to USC. Anything else, boys, on this one before we move on to our last pick 'em, UGA versus Clemson?
No.
All right, let's go on, boys. Georgia Clemson 34-3. This one, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Clemson didn't, the whole team sucks, whatever, their defense sucks. I don't think it's that way. And when you look at it, it simply boils down to Klubnik and he was like afraid to throw, it looked like to me. He was
Club me in the face.
Club me in the face. He came right back to it.
You could really tell
right
toward the end of the game, he was just desperate. He was throwing up passes that didn't make any sense into coverage, and he was just trying to make anything happen and hoping, and it wasn't working out.
Yeah, the way I saw that game, it was close. The entire first half, that defense was eating for Clemson, and they kept them in it. They were like, okay, we can do this. And
they
then
just don't have a quarterback. I'm sorry, they just don't. They don't. Yeah. They don't have a quarterback that can keep the offense moving. The play calling I thought was okay. I mean, I'd have to go back and actually look at the replays of like play by play on finding out like how bad of a call or bad of a throw decision did Klubnik make. But odds are he probably made the wrong decision, or he's not going through his progressions, or doesn't feel like he has enough time. And he's just playing scared, which, I mean, if you're playing Georgia, you probably should be a little scared.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like, he wasn't, I don't want to say he even played horrible. It was just, again, like he's afraid to put it into certain windows. And when you're playing Georgia, you've got to go out and play fearless. And look, he did have the one pick. It was a very nice interception, that one-handed, pick, I think it was, going up the sideline. If he'd have put another, foot on it, that's a catch for them, right? I mean, that guy was in perfect position to catch it, falling backwards. Yeah. But it's a game of inches. And then once you lose that momentum on offense, where you're like, we can't do anything, your defense is going to end up faltering too. They can only hold on for so long with no help.
Right.
And that's what happened in the second half.
Right. And I'll tell you what, with Klubnik, and I'm not trying to harp on this too much, but I would have expected that performance from a first-time starter of a sophomore or junior. Like it not someone that has been playing as a starter for an entire season already against some really good opponents. So that just speaks volumes to the type of quarterback he is. He is not developed over the offseason at all. And he's just not making the right decisions and putting his team in bad spots.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think he could probably win them the ACC. I think he could get them there. But when you go into the playoffs and you're playing teams again like Georgia or Ohio State or whoever else might pop up against top defenses, you cannot play scared. So he's got to get that under control. And maybe Dabo's got to have a talk with him. But I don't know. Great win from Georgia. Huge test early, and they handled it well. Good off second half adjustments. And got the win. Boys, anything else before we move on? That was our pick 'em for the week. Obviously, you see the all the red X's and the green checks. It wasn't great. Final tallies for our pick 'em for this week. I went 4-6. Trevor went 6-4, and then Blake went 4-6 as well. Total so far on the year after 2 weeks, week 0 and week 1. I'm 7-7. Trevor's 8-6, and Blake 7-7 as well. And then we want to talk about the gridlock real quick. We all boloed it. Blake, he had a gutsy call, and it was so close, man, so damn close. But none of us got it. Minnesota left Trevor hanging, and then Texas A&M, you screwed me. At least buy me dinner first next time. I thought you had it. I trusted you. And this is what happened. So, but hey, at least we all went 0-1 this week. No points granted for any of us on the gridlock. Boys, let's move on to the kicking it up a notch. That's our little version of who's our player of the week, who's our team of the week. And we try to come to a conclusion or a consensus on it, excuse me. And this week we end up going with Miller Moss as the player of the week. Just an impressive performance again. He handled it really well. Drove them down the field at the end of the game there, and he carried that over from the year before. It wasn't just a one-off game. So props to Miller Moss, and excited to see what he's doing moving forward. Yeah, I saw
Barbara got her gridlock.
Hey, look, Barbara's on this. That's why she's an honorary member of the Gridiron team. Obviously, she's got her elf model too. You'll see that posted. She does a lot of awesome things. So we love Barbara. We're grateful to have her, and obviously family. To me, but just being a part of this, it's really cool. And she kills it on her picks too. So don't go toe to toe with Barbara.
She did better than us this week.
Yeah,
yes, she did.
So.
Hey, Barbara, we need you to start making us some money on, go to Vegas, like help the crew out. Let's talk real quick. Team of the week. We kind of, we settled on Notre Dame. Could have been USC. I feel like could have been Miami. A couple of teams fit the bill, but Notre Dame, I think when we settle on it, it's look what they have left. And Jacob Rowe mentioned it earlier in the comments. If I could go find it. Maybe I can, but it was he mentioned like who else on their schedule can really beat them. Notre Dame's really set themselves up big time in the playoff picture with this win, and it is truly a massive win for them. When you look at their schedule, they have every opportunity to win out and set themselves in that 5 seed if they win out, because again, they're not going to a conference championship, so they can't get a top bye, but they could go to the playoffs. So good win for them. Big win early against the SEC opponent on the road. They needed that, and hopefully that momentum carries for them. Let's talk real quick. This kind of at the end of each show, we'll do a Michigan and a Bama segment for our fans. Obviously, Trevor and I are both Michigan fans. Blake's are what do they call you, a Gump, our Bama fans. So Trev, if you want, we'll hit the Michigan side real quick, and then Blake finish off with Bama, and then we'll talk a little bit about this Boston College and Florida State game that is still ongoing. Trev, Michigan, Fresno State. Fresno State was a team that we mentioned in the group of 5 that can contend until, they lost their head coach, but the team stayed intact. So it's like, okay, they were 9-win team last year. They brought back 15 starters. Michigan obviously transitioning a lot after what happened last year. But I thought defensively they still came out and looked pretty much the same. I was really happy with the defense. Offensively, though, early, I had a lot of concerns about the offensive line. Not even the quarterback, Davis Warren, but really the O-line play. We weren't getting the push, for the run game. We weren't really setting up ourselves for success. That didn't happen until mid to late third, I felt, and then my opinions changed a little bit. But I want to hear what you think.
I think Davis Warren was the right choice. I think Coach Moore made the right choice. I didn't see anything in the spring game from Orji to suggest that he's ready with arm-wise.
Yeah.
Accuracy-wise, Davis Warren did fit some passes in some windows, did take him a little bit to get in the rhythm of the game, but that's kind of to be expected from a person that's never started a collegiate football game.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him leeway. Ultimately, they got the win. Defense came up big with a couple of big turnovers. And I think they're going to have to – so their running game they need to figure something out. I know, and me and Blake were talking about this a little bit the other day, but I know it was just Fresno State. And I know that they were probably running the most basic blocking schemes and the most basic run plays, the most basic offensive plays in general.
Yeah.
Because next week is a huge game, playoff implications, the whole 9 yards, and they're not trying to put anything on tape like me and Blake were talking about, and I'm sure you agree. They're not trying to put any wrinkles into their stuff that Texas could use against them. And likewise, I mean, if you watch the Texas game, they were not doing anything special, like at all. They were very vanilla as well. So. For that being said, I think Warren was the right choice as starting quarterback. Defense is as advertised, if not a little bit better. But the real test is next week, and then I'll make my real judgment on the defense, on where they are and where they need to go.
Yeah, for Warren, he had the one pick on a deep shot. He left a little too much air under. If he had put it another 2 foot out in front, that's a touchdown. But outside that, I was pretty happy with his decision making. he had a pass going up the sideline where our wide receiver stopped running. And at first I was like, damn it, Warren, come on, dude, you gotta put that on. But when you look at it again, Morris had a wonderful route. It was a stop and go. But then he like kind of just hovered on the sideline. If he had continued running, that's a walk-in touchdown. And that stat line looks a little different. And maybe fans feel a little different too. So I agree. Orgy's, I think he's a special talent. He's an athlete. But when it comes to passing, I just don't see it. He had a rollout where he could have checked it down easy, and he found the check down target, but he nerfed it into the ground. You can't do that in big games. You can't do that against Texas. But use his running ability, mix him in, and I think you have an opportunity to go out and still beat Texas, but they're going to have to play perfect.
And to answer that question, Jacob, or that statement, I do not think Orgy's a better quarterback, but I do think that they were limiting him on what they have confidence in him doing. Now, I think what is the potential of happening next week is them putting him in, pretending that he's just going to do the QB draws like normal, and then he's going to drop back and do a bomb, because regardless of what anyone thinks, he may not be inaccurate, but he's got an arm for days and he can launch it as far as the eye can see. He can launch it quite far. So I think that there's a big potential for that kind of thing to happen, where they play like they're going to do a run play, a run QB power or something, and he ends up just doing a little head fake and then dropping it deep to Morris or somebody.
Yeah, they're going to have to pull out the stops on that one. So all in all, bluff, if you will, bottom line up front. Michigan happy with defense. I was happy really with the end of the game. In the last offensive drive they had, the O-line looked like it started to mesh. But before that, it's got to be an all game thing. So we'll see.
I completely agree with this, by the way, Jacob, just so you know. I completely with this. Almost all of the top teams came in with participate and graduate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, Blake, what do you think about the Bama game? I know it was an impressive win. What are you going to say? I'm trying to see what Colt said down in the comments.
Hang on.
Well, let's see.
Okay,
I
hope so.
We will see.
Hope so, Colt. Hope so, bud.
All right, Blake, what are your thoughts on the Alabama game? Outside looking in, it was impressive.
I mean, they did look good. I didn't see a lot of improvement out of Milroe that I wanted to see. He's still behind on getting the ball out quickly. I still think he struggles with accuracy on his passes, and I feel like he rushes, the play a little too much. The offensive line I thought looked better, but we still got way too many penalties offensively. And like a lot of fans just look at the score and they're like, "Oh, dude, you can't complain about our offense." But I mean, a lot of his touchdown passes are behind the receivers, and when you play teams like Georgia and Ole Miss, you can't do that, because they're going to have better DBs. Those are going to be picks. The 5 and 6 seconds to pass the ball is not going to be there in 3 weeks when we play Georgia. Milroe is very slow at looking through his progressions on any pass play. There were several times I've seen on some crossing routes where we got away from the man and he didn't even see him. And in big games, that's going to matter. It didn't matter against Western Kentucky, but it will matter against Georgia. It'll matter against Oklahoma and Auburn. So I worry about games like that. Our receivers, I thought, looked great. We played so many young guys. The running backs, we played 5 different running backs, and all of them looked, great to me. Defensively, it was nice seeing some stinginess in the defense. The transfer, Saab coming in, getting 2 picks. He was all over the field.
I don't want to talk to you right now about that.
Our linebackers.
About him leaving. I was really hoping he would be the next guy.
Yeah, he didn't want his wins vacated, baby. But
all right,
how to go there? There he is.
He wants them wins to count. But
oh Lord,
yeah. The linebackers, Jahad Campbell. He played lights out, and then we've got a freshman down there in Qua Rasal. Dude was in the backfield all night. Our whole front seven was great. I have no complaints about our defense. other than a couple of drives, we did let them kind of sustain drives on third down.
Yeah.
But I didn't think for so many new faces out there, we didn't make a whole lot of mental errors.
Yeah.
And Western Kentucky actually has a pretty good amount of players on their offense that transferred to their team that played for bigger schools. I mean, so it wasn't like, I know it's Western Kentucky, and I'm not, arguing that we played a top 10 team or anything, but a lot of those players have played against big teams before. So it's not like we just rolled over an FCS school. Yeah. So, I mean, the talent disparity is not as big as you would imagine it was. But all in all, I mean, I think Bama looked really good. I just want to see a little more out of Milroe with his accuracy and getting rid of the ball faster. As far as running it, though, I think he's great at it. Yeah. And when he has time, he can make a good pass. I just worry about when he's under pressure and his accuracy.
No, it's totally understandable. That's the quick action you have to have. And you saw it last year. And like we say with Klumnik or with DJU or with Alar, maybe it looked like maybe he changed a little bit this year, but some of these people eventually they are just who we know they are. You can maybe get a little bit better, but at some point you're in that median. So I'm curious to see how he does moving forward, because Alabama's got a pretty solid schedule this year too. Boys, anything else on those games before we talk a little bit about this Boston College game?
You mean the upset that's about to happen?
Yeah.
Go baby!
Look, happy as a fucking clam. Look, Boston College currently 28, Florida State 13, 2-minute warning, or they stick the timeout. No, we're calling it
whatever. It's a 2-minute warning, but they are up 2 scores and they're about to go 3.
Look, I wrote down some notes before. They're on commercial right now.
Castellanos is having a game, man.
Oh, he's going off, man. And look, they were a 16.5-point favorite. I rode with FSU just because I was like, maybe they'll change up a little bit. Maybe they'll have a little bit better, cohesion, I guess, after all the changes. But I thought it was going to be very close, and sure enough, it's gone the other way. My question again, my notes I put down: how does the lines adjust from last weekend, the offensive and defensive lines for Florida State? And right now, again, Boston College has been pushing them the entire game. And
the same problem that happened last week against Georgia Tech is happening again this week.
Yeah. And then you get a mobile quarterback in Castellanos that's really talented guy. He can throw it well too. It's just it's a dangerous game. And
I hate to give the guy props, but man, them bringing in him is
Bill O'Brien.
Yeah. I don't even want to say his name really.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah, we'll just call him Bob. There you go. Bob coming in there. He looks like he has that offense going well.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's calling the right plays, doing the right things. But I mean, that offensive line, hats off to the BC offensive line, because they are controlling that all-star defensive line that Florida State has put together.
Yeah. Like, early on, I put on the preseason preview knife edge for Boston College. Like their season could go one way or another with how tough it is. And right now they're on the good side of it. So Barbara's she's always got away with words, man.
Florida State is they are awful. They're a third-tier school in their own state now.
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic would beat Florida State.
It's freaking possible. I don't know. I'm really shocked. I thought that with all they brought in and some anger from last season that they would be able to get something going, but right now 2 straight losses like this, unless something crazy happens in 2 minutes, I don't think it will. But
maybe all their starters sat out.
Yeah.
Yes, Jacob. Florida would beat FSU as it stands right now today.
Guaranteed. Yeah. UCF, Florida, Miami.
UCF has got a good team all the way across the board. They're good. I think they would beat them easily.
People are just throwing everything on DJU, and I mentioned I had the comment with somebody else on Twitter about this, and I get why he's catching all the flack, but at the same time, I wasn't a fan of the early play calling. I know Norvell's, known as a guru in that in the coaching realm on that, but I didn't like it early on. Again, the offensive line play and the D line play has been horrible, and they were getting burned on these wheel routes twice, 3 times. So I don't know what Florida State's going to do, but they got to figure this thing out quick because their schedule. I mean, I need to pull it up.
But they got Memphis.
It's
next.
not the easiest.
Memphis is next, and that's no slouch either.
Yeah, Memphis, Cal, SMU, Clemson, Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame.
SMU has not been playing the way we thought they were going to be playing, so we'll see what kind of team it is when it gets to them. But
yeah,
Cal, I don't know.
Yeah, hey, look, it's a live game right now. This game's about to wrap up. We got a minute 30 left, and it's counting down. It looks like they're just going to kneel this thing out and get out of there with a win. So rough loss for Florida State in week 2. Well, really,
there's a potential for them to go 0-3. Memphis is a good team, a very solid team.
Yes, they are. So be careful. Watch out. We're not trying to hate on anybody. We're just giving it straight up how we see it. So it's football, man.
God.
It's crazy.
Florida State fans would go berserk.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll get that bad, but golly, I mean, again, you look at the schedule. I wasn't expecting 2 straight losses out of the season, out of the start of the season. You get Memphis next, California. So I mean,
Cal is a potential where they could take advantage of. Is it at Cal?
It's Cal's at home. Yeah, Cal's at home. Then they go to Dallas.
So the Florida State has to travel out to Berkeley. Okay.
Let's see. Well, no, it's in Florida State.
Yeah.
Oh, it's home.
And then, at home, and then they go out to Dallas. Their first really away game is Dallas.
See this is where this is the biggest drop of the ball, and that's it. Boston College has won.
Yeah.
So
big win for Boston College.
Big, huge win for Boston College. But no, that was the thing in the off. When we were talking about the preseason, it's we talked about this being an advantage that they don't have to lead the state of Florida for the first 5 games.
Yeah.
Something like that. But now they've completely dropped the ball from game 1. Game 2, same problem. No adjustments made by Norvell whatsoever to fix his defensive line because his defensive line is leaking like a sieve. And it's just freaking ridiculous.
You're dropping bars over here, Trevor.
I'll take all the hate from Florida State because y'all are trash right now.
I mean, look, it's
garbage.
0-2 to start the season.
Garbage for a preseason top 10 team.
Yeah, hey, I think we should throw we'll throw the Memphis game on the pick'em next week too, just to see how that one goes and what other people might have to say about it.
Let's put that on the pick'em.
Make sure you guys
watch me pick Memphis.
Yeah. Well, guys, I got nothing else on this week. It obviously just ended with Florida State game. So tell us what you think. Any game specifically that sticks out to you that we should have on the pick'em next week. Let us know. But next show is on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll let you guys know.
Come out Wednesday. We'll do it. We record Tuesday. It'll come out Wednesday morning.
Yeah, so keep an eye out, and we got a week 2 previews coming up very soon. We appreciate you guys joining us tonight, and make sure you share, like, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. All these comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Big thanks to you guys for commenting tonight.
Hope everyone had a great Labor Day. Have a good one.
Yeah. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and we'll see you around. Night.
Take it easy.